My family labeled me worst potential father. My adopted son heard everything. I brought my newly adopted son, Marcus, to meet the family on a Sunday afternoon. He was 9 years old and had been living with me for exactly 3 weeks after 6 months of paperwork and home visits and background checks. I wanted him to feel welcomed, to know he had people who cared about him now. We walked into my parents' house around 2 p.m. My mom hugged Marcus immediately and told him she'd made his favorite cookies based on what I'd told her. My dad shook his hand like Marcus was an adult, which made Marcus stand a little taller. My sister Beth brought her 2 kids who were close to Marcus's age, and they all went to play video games in the basement. Everything seemed perfect. Everyone was being kind and welcoming, exactly what Marcus needed after bouncing between foster homes for 3 years. We sat down for dinner around 4, and about halfway through the meal, Marcus asked where the bathroom was. My mom directed him upstairs to avoid the crowd at the main floor bathroom. Marcus left the table, and I watched him head up the stairs. That's when my sister Beth started talking in a lower voice. She said she needed to bring something up that had been bothering her. I felt my chest tighten because Beth's serious voice always meant bad news. She said she'd been thinking about my situation a lot, and she was worried. My mom put down her fork and nodded like she'd been thinking the same thing. My dad cleared his throat and said they all cared about me, but they had concerns about the timing of the adoption. Beth looked right at me and said the words that would haunt me for weeks. You're going to be the worst potential father for that boy, and I think you need to seriously consider what that means for his future. I started to respond, to defend myself, but then I heard a sound from the stairs, a small creak, like someone shifting their weight. I glanced over and saw Marcus standing there, frozen halfway down the staircase. His face was completely white. Our eyes met for just a second before he turned and ran back upstairs. I heard a door slam. My stomach dropped. I asked my family what the hell they were talking about. Why would they say something like that? But before anyone could answer, I was already heading upstairs to find Marcus. He was in the guest bathroom with the door locked. I knocked gently and said his name, trying to keep my voice calm even though my heart was pounding. He didn't respond. I could hear him crying on the other side of the door, these quiet sobs he was trying to muffle. Marcus, please open the door. We need to talk about what you heard. Nothing, just more crying. I sat down in the hallway outside the bathroom and waited. After about 10 minutes, the lock clicked and the door opened slowly. Marcus's eyes were red and swollen. He asked me if I was going to send him back, if this was like all the other times when people decided they didn't want him anymore. My heart broke into 1,000 pieces. I pulled him into a hug and promised I wasn't sending him anywhere, that he was my son now and that was forever. But Marcus pulled away and said, "Your family thinks you'll be the worst father." They said it. I heard them. That night after we got home, Marcus barely spoke to me. He went straight to his room and closed the door. I tried calling my sister to demand an explanation, but she didn't answer. My mom texted saying we needed to talk, but not yet, to give things time to settle. Over the next 3 days, Marcus's behavior got stranger. I caught him packing his clothes into his backpack when he thought I wasn't looking. He started asking weird questions about how foster care worked, whether kids could request to go back to their old homes, what happened if adoptions didn't work out. Every time I tried to bring up what happened at my parents' house, Marcus would shut down completely. My family wasn't returning my calls properly. Beth sent short texts saying she needed space. My mom said they'd explain everything soon, but not over the phone. On Thursday, I found Marcus in the kitchen at midnight, sitting in the dark with my laptop open. The screen showed a search history that made my blood run cold. He'd been researching terminal illnesses, looking up average life expectancy for different conditions, reading articles about children who lost their adoptive parents. I sat down next to him and demanded to know what was going on, why he was looking at this stuff. Marcus closed the laptop and looked at me with tears streaming down his face. "Your sister said you're going to be the worst father because you won't be around long enough. That's what she meant, right?" But that's when I realized what my family had actually been talking about. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I stare at Marcus, my heart pounding in my chest. The tears streaming down his face reflect the blue glow of the laptop screen. His words hang in the air between us, heavy and accusing. "Your sister said you're going to be the worst father because you won't be around long enough. That's what she meant, right?" I feel like I've been punched in the stomach. My mind races, trying to find the right words, but nothing seems adequate. Marcus's small shoulders are shaking with silent sobs as he waits for my answer. "Marcus," I finally say, my voice barely above a whisper, "what exactly do you mean by that? What made you think I won't be around long enough?" He wipes his nose with his sleeve and looks at me with those eyes that suddenly seem far older than 9. "I found papers in your desk drawer last week when I was looking for tape. Medical papers with lots of big words I didn't understand. So I took pictures of them with your phone and looked them up later." My stomach drops. Those papers, my diagnosis, treatment options, prognosis statistics, all tucked away in a folder I thought was safely hidden. I'd been so careful, so determined to give Marcus a normal start to our life together. "I know what terminal means," he continues, his voice cracking. "It means you're going to die. That's why your family thinks you shouldn't have adopted me, isn't it? Because you're sick and you're going to leave me just like everyone else." I slide my chair closer and put my arm around his shoulders, relieved when he doesn't pull away. "I have a rare genetic condition," I admit, finally saying the words I've been avoiding for weeks. "It does mean my lifespan might be shorter than most people's. But Marcus, I need you to understand something very important. I'm not giving up. I'm fighting this with everything I have." "How long?" he asks, and the directness of his question catches me off guard. "How long until you're gone?" I take a deep breath. "The doctors don't know exactly. That's the truth. It could be years, many years, especially with the new treatments I'm looking into." Marcus's eyes narrow. "Then why did your family say those things? Why did they say you'd be the worst father?" "They're scared," I explain, running a hand through my hair. "My diagnosis came about 6 months before I started the adoption process. When I told them I wanted to adopt you, they thought I was being selfish. They were worried that I wouldn't live long enough to see you grow up, and they didn't want you to lose another parent. So they wanted you to not adopt me, to leave me in foster care." His voice rises, a mix of hurt and anger. "Yes," I admit. "They thought it would be kinder in the long run. But Marcus," I disagreed. "I knew in my heart that we belonged together, that we could be a family for however long we have. I should have told you about my condition, but I wanted us to have some time to just be normal, to bond without this hanging over us. Marcus is quiet for a long moment, processing everything. Then he looks up at me, his eyes filled with fresh tears. I don't want another parent to die. I can't do that again. The raw pain in his voice breaks me. I pull him into a tight hug, and this time he clings to me, his small body shaking with sobs. I know, buddy, I know, and I can't promise you that won't happen someday, but I can promise you that I'm doing everything possible to stay with you as long as I can. There are experimental treatments I'm looking into, one at a research center in Chicago that's showing real promise for people with my condition. He pulls back slightly, wiping his eyes. Is that why you have all those pills in your bathroom cabinet? The ones in the weekly container? I nod. Part of my current treatment plan, and there's more I can try. Did you really want me? He asks suddenly, his voice small. Or did you just feel sorry for me because we're both broken? The question stabs at my heart. Marcus, listen to me. I wanted you. I want you because from the moment I saw your file, I knew you were my son. Not because I felt sorry for you, but because I saw myself in you. Your resilience, your quiet strength, the way you keep going no matter what life throws at you. We're not broken, Marcus. We're fighters. He seems to consider this, his brow furrowed in thought. So what happens now? So, now we face this together. I say firmly. No more secrets. I'll tell you everything about my condition, about the treatments I'm trying, about the doctors I'm seeing, and I promise to fight with everything I have to stay with you for as long as possible. Your family won't like that, he points out. I can't help but smile at his perceptiveness. No, they probably won't, but they don't get to decide what's right for us. We do. Marcus nods slowly, then asks, can I help with your medicine and stuff? Of course you can. We're a team now. He's quiet for a moment, then says, I've been researching your condition since Tuesday. That's why I was asking those weird questions about foster care and stuff. I was trying to figure out what would happen to me when you... He can't finish the sentence. I know, buddy. I understand. But I want you to know something. Even if the worst happens someday, you will never go back into the system. Beth and her issues aside, there are people who will make sure you're taken care of. But that's not something we need to worry about right now, because I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Marcus looks at me skeptically. Promise? I promise to fight with everything I have, I say, holding his gaze. And I promise that adopting you was the best decision I've ever made, no matter what anyone else thinks. He leans against me, exhaustion finally catching up with him after the emotional roller coaster of the past few days. Can I sleep in your room tonight? He asks quietly. Absolutely, I tell him, closing the laptop. Let's get some rest, and tomorrow we'll make a plan, together. As I lead him upstairs, I know there are difficult conversations ahead with Marcus, with my family, with doctors, but for the first time since my diagnosis, I feel a renewed determination to fight, not just for myself anymore, but for the boy who has somehow, in just 3 short weeks, become my whole world. The drive home from my parents' house feels like it's happening underwater. Everything is muted, distorted. Marcus stares out the passenger window, his small frame curled away from me, shoulders hunched as if bracing for impact. He hasn't said a word since we left. Are you hungry? I ask, trying to break through the silence. We could stop somewhere. He shakes his head without looking at me. We can talk more when we get home if you want. Or not. Whatever you need. Another head shake, more definitive this time. I grip the steering wheel tighter, knuckles turning white. This isn't how I imagined our first family dinner would end, with a hasty exit, my mother crying in the kitchen, my father's stunned silence, and Beth standing in the doorway with that mixture of righteousness and regret on her face. The cookies my mother made for Marcus sit forgotten in a container on the back seat. When we pull into our driveway, Marcus unbuckles his seatbelt before I've even turned off the engine. He's out of the car and heading for the front door before I can say anything. By the time I get inside, I hear his bedroom door click shut. I stand in the hallway, paralyzed by indecision. Should I go to him? Give him space? What's the right move when your 9-year-old just discovered you're dying? I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find Dr. Sharma. It's Sunday evening, but I leave a voicemail anyway. Hi, Dr. Sharma. It's Alex. I need to schedule an emergency session for Marcus. He found out about my condition tonight, not in the way I planned. Please call me back as soon as possible. I make myself a cup of tea and sit at the kitchen table, staring at the place where I found Marcus researching terminal illnesses just hours ago. The memory of his tear-streaked face looking up at me makes my chest ache. Around midnight, I hear my bedroom door creak open. I've been lying awake, staring at the ceiling, so I sit up immediately. Marcus, his small silhouette appears in the doorway, clutching his pillow. Can I sleep in here tonight? Of course you can, buddy. He pads across the room and climbs into the bed beside me, his movements careful and deliberate. He doesn't say anything else, just lies down with his back to me, but I can tell from his breathing that he's not asleep. I'm right here, I whisper. I'm not going anywhere tonight. His shoulders relax slightly, and eventually, his breathing evens out. I lie awake much longer, watching the rise and fall of his chest, mentally cataloging every freckle on the back of his neck, every strand of hair that sticks up at odd angles. In the morning, I wake to find him gone. Panic spikes through me until I hear movement in the kitchen. I find him making cereal, methodically arranging the box, bowl, and spoon in a perfect line. Morning, I say. He looks up, his eyes red-rimmed and puffy. Morning. It's the first word he's spoken since last night. Dr. Sharma called back. I tell him, pouring myself some coffee. We have an appointment tomorrow at 4. Marcus nods, stirring his cereal without eating it. Do I have to go to school today? I hesitate. No. I think we could both use a day at home. Relief flashes across his face. Thanks. Around noon, my phone rings. It's Beth. I almost don't answer, but Marcus is watching me from the couch, where he's been pretending to read the same page of a book for the last hour. Hello, I say, stepping into the hallway. Alex, I'm so sorry. Beth's voice is thick with tears. I never meant for Marcus to hear that. I never meant to hurt him, but you meant to hurt me, I say quietly. I was scared, she admits. I still am. You're my little brother, Alex. The idea of losing you is... Her voice breaks, but that doesn't excuse what I said. You're an amazing father already. Anyone can see how much you love that boy. I lean against the wall, suddenly exhausted. He's sleeping in my room now. He's afraid I'll disappear in the middle of the night. God, I'm so sorry, she whispers. I need to go, I tell her. Marcus needs me. Alex, wait. I hang up, not ready to forgive her yet. When I return return to the living room. Marcus is standing by the bookshelf, examining a framed photo of me from last year's company picnic. Was that your sister? He asks. I nod. Is she sorry? Yes, she is. He puts the photo down. Are you going to forgive her? Eventually, I say. Family is complicated. Yeah, he agrees, with a wisdom no 9-year-old should possess. It is. That night, my mother calls. Marcus is in the shower, and I answer quickly, keeping my voice low. How is he? She asks, without preamble. Struggling, I admit, but we're talking. That's something. She's quiet for a moment. The doctor called. With your latest test results, my stomach drops. And? The numbers aren't good, Alex. The progression is faster than they expected. I close my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. How much faster? Dr. Collins wants you to come in next week. He mentioned accelerating the timeline for the experimental treatment. I don't realize Marcus is standing in the hallway until I hear a small gasp. When I turn, he's frozen in place, dripping water onto the floor, a towel wrapped around his shoulders. His face has gone completely white. Mom, I have to go, I say quickly, ending the call. Marcus is hyperventilating, small chest heaving with rapid, shallow breaths. I rush to him, kneeling down. Hey, look at me. Breathe with me, okay? In through your nose, out through your mouth. His eyes are wild, unfocused. You said you had years, he gasps. You promised. I'm still fighting, I tell him firmly. This doesn't change anything. The doctors are just being cautious. It takes nearly an hour to calm him down. When he finally stops shaking, I carry him to his room and help him into pajamas. He's exhausted from the panic attack, but he refuses to close his eyes. I'll be right back, I promise. Going to get him some water. When I return, I find him at his desk, my laptop open in front of him. The screen shows a search for legal guardianship after parent death and how to find good foster homes. My heart shatters. Marcus, what are you doing? He looks up, his expression eerily calm. I need to be prepared. Last time, when my birth mom died, I didn't know what was happening until the social workers came. I want to know what's going to happen to me this time. I set the water down and pull up a chair beside him, gently closing the laptop. Nothing is happening to you. Not now, not soon, but eventually, he insists. I heard your mom. The numbers aren't good. I take his small hands in mine. Marcus, listen to me. Even if, and this is a big if, even if the worst happens, you will never go back into the system. I've already made arrangements. You have a family now. Me, yes, but also grandparents who love you, an aunt who's trying her best, cousins who think you're awesome. He studies my face, looking for any sign of deception. Promise? Crady, I promise. But right now, I need you to stop planning for my death and help me focus on living instead. That night, as he falls asleep beside me in my bed, an idea forms. By morning, I've made up my mind. Pack a bag. I tell Marcus over breakfast. Enough for a week. He looks up confused. Why? Why? He looks up confused. We're going on a road trip. What about school? What about your work? I smile, feeling lighter than I have in days. Some things are more important. There's someone I want you to meet in Chicago. For the first time since the disastrous family dinner, I see a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. Who? Dr. Collins, the researcher I mentioned. And after that, wherever the road takes us, just you and me. As he rushes upstairs to pack, I call my boss to request emergency family leave. Then I text my mother, taking Marcus to Chicago to meet Dr. Collins, starting the experimental treatment early. We'll be gone for a week. Tell Beth she can apologize properly when we get back. I don't wait for a response. Instead, I start packing my own bag, including all my medications and medical files. This trip isn't just for Marcus, it's for me too. A chance to show him that I'm not giving up, that I'm fighting for every possible moment I can have with him. Because 3 weeks may not seem like much to most people, but in those 3 weeks, Marcus became my son, and I'll do anything to be his father for as long as I possibly can. The Chicago skyline stretches before us as we drive into the city. Marcus has his face pressed against the window, watching skyscrapers emerge through the morning fog. He's been quiet most of the drive, occasionally asking questions about my treatment or where we'll stay, but mostly lost in his own thoughts. That building looks like a giant corn, he says suddenly, pointing at the distinctive shape of the Willis Tower. It does, doesn't it? I smile, grateful for this moment of normalcy. When we're done at the research center, maybe we can go up to the observation deck. They have these glass boxes that stick out from the building so you can stand over the city. His eyes widen. Really? That sounds scary. Good scary or bad scary? He considers this. Good scary, I think. The GPS directs us to turn right, and the imposing glass structure of the Northwestern Medical Research Center comes into view. My stomach tightens as I pull into the parking garage. I've been here before, but this time feels different. This time, I'm not just fighting for myself. Is this where the doctor is? Marcus asks, unbuckling his seatbelt. Yes, Dr. Collins is the lead researcher for my condition. He's been studying it for almost 20 years. Marcus nods solemnly. And he's going to help you not die? The bluntness of a 9-year-old still catches me off guard sometimes. That's the plan. We check in at the front desk, and a nurse leads us to a consultation room filled with medical diagrams and research posters. Marcus studies each one carefully, his brow furrowed in concentration. Dr. Collins enters a few minutes later, his salt and pepper beard neatly trimmed and his eyes bright behind wire-rimmed glasses. He shakes my hand firmly before turning to Marcus. And you must be Marcus. Your dad has told me a lot about you. Marcus looks up at him, suddenly shy. Are you going to fix him? Dr. Collins doesn't flinch at the directness. He pulls up a chair directly across from Marcus, meeting him at eye level. I'm working on treatments that could help your dad live a lot longer than he might without them. I can't promise to fix everything, but we're seeing very promising results with our new clinical trial. What's a clinical trial? Marcus asks. It's when we test new medications to see if they work better than the old ones, Dr. Collins explains. Your dad is going to be one of the first people to try a new combination of medicines that we've been developing for years. I watch Marcus process this information, his face cycling through confusion, hope, and worry. Is it dangerous? He asks finally. Dr. Collins glances at me before answering. All treatments have some risks, but we monitor everything very carefully. Your dad is actually helping us learn more about this condition so we can help other people too. Marcus straightens in his chair. Like a science experiment? Kind of, I say. But I'm volunteering. Your dad is very brave, Dr. Collins adds. And based on his latest tests, we think he's an excellent candidate for this treatment. For the next hour, Dr. Collins walks us through the treatment treatment plan, using simple diagrams and analogies that Marcus can understand. He explains how the medication targets the genetic mutation responsible for my condition, potentially slowing its progression significantly. Marcus asks surprisingly insightful questions, and I realize he's been researching more than I thought. We're discussing the treatment schedule when the door bursts open. My mother stands in the doorway, my father right behind her. "Alex," she says breathlessly. "Thank God we found you." Marcus immediately tenses beside me, his body going rigid. I place a protective hand on his shoulder. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing here?" "Your mother was worried sick," my father says, stepping into the room. "When you texted about starting the experimental treatment early, we needed to be here," my mother finishes. "We're your parents." Dr. Collins clears his throat. "Perhaps we should give the family some privacy. Marcus, would you like to see our research lab? We have some pretty cool equipment." Marcus looks at me, panic flashing in his eyes. "It's okay," I tell him. "I'll be right here when you get back." After they leave, my parents waste no time. "This is exactly what we were afraid of," my mother says, her voice strained. "You're making rash decisions because of that boy." "That boy is my son," I say firmly. "And this isn't rash. Dr. Collins has been suggesting this treatment for months, but you weren't ready before," my father points out. "Now suddenly, you're rushing into it because Marcus found out about your condition?" I take a deep breath. "I'm doing it because it's my best chance, and because I have more reason than ever to fight this thing." "Alex," my mother says, her voice softening, "we understand you've formed an attachment to Marcus, but you have to think about what's best for him long term. What happens when if she can't finish the sentence? When I die, I supply. I've thought about that every day since my diagnosis. But you know what I never considered? That I might actually have something to live for." The door opens again, but it's not Dr. Collins returning with Marcus. It's Beth. "I thought I'd find you all here," she says, looking uncomfortable. "The receptionist said you were in consultation room 3. "Great," I mutter. "The whole family's here." Beth approaches cautiously. "I came to apologize properly to both you and Marcus." "He's not here right now," I tell her. "Then I'll wait," she says, sitting down, "because what I said was unforgivable, and I need him to know that." My father paces the small room. "This isn't about apologies, Beth. This is about Alex making decisions that affect all of us." "How exactly does my adoption of Marcus affect you?" I ask, my patience wearing thin. "Because we'll be the ones picking up the pieces," he shouts suddenly. "We'll be the ones raising him when you're gone." The room falls silent. My father rarely loses his composure, and the raw emotion in his voice stuns us all. "Dad," I say quietly, "I know you're scared." Scared doesn't begin to cover it, he says, his voice breaking. "I'm terrified of losing my son, and now you've brought this child into our lives, this innocent boy who's already lost so much, and he's going to lose you too." The door opens again, and this time it's Marcus and Dr. Collins. From Marcus's wide eyes and pale face, I can tell he heard at least part of what my father said. "Marcus," I start, but he cuts me off. "I'm not going anywhere," he says, his small voice surprisingly steady. "And neither is my dad." He walks over to stand beside me, shoulders squared despite his obvious fear. "You're all acting like he's already dead," Marcus continues, looking directly at my father. "But Dr. Collins showed me the lab where they're making medicine to help him. They have machines that can see inside cells and computers that design special treatments just for him." Dr. Collins looks slightly embarrassed, but nods in confirmation. "Marcus, honey," my mother begins. "We're just worried." "I know you're worried," Marcus interrupts. "I'm worried too, but he's my dad now, and I'm not giving up on him." Beth steps forward, kneeling to Marcus's level. "Nobody wants you to give up on him, Marcus, and I'm so sorry for what I said at dinner. I was wrong." "Were you protecting me or yourself?" Marcus asks, showing that uncanny perceptiveness that still surprises me. Beth looks taken aback. "What do you mean? Were you trying to protect me from losing another parent, or were you protecting yourself from losing your brother?" Beth's eyes fill with tears. "Both, I think, but that doesn't make what I said okay." My father sinks into a chair, suddenly looking much older than his 62 years. "I can't do this again," he whispers. "I can't watch my child die." The raw pain in his voice hits me like a physical blow. For all his bluster and anger, this is what's been driving him all along, the unbearable prospect of outliving his child. "Dad," I say, moving to kneel beside him, "I'm not giving up. This treatment Dr. Collins is offering, it's showing real promise. People in the trial are seeing significant improvements." "It's true," Dr. Collins confirms. "Your son's participation isn't just beneficial for him. The data we gather helps refine the treatment for everyone with this condition." Marcus steps closer to my father. "My first dad died before I was born," he says quietly. "I never got to meet him, and my mom died when I was 6. But now I have a new dad, and he's fighting really hard to stay with me." My father looks up, meeting Marcus's earnest gaze. Something passes between them, some unspoken understanding. "We're family," Marcus says simply. "All of us. And family sticks together, right?" In that moment, my 9-year-old son teaches all of us what it means to face the future with courage, not by denying the possibility of loss, but by choosing to love anyway. Dr. Collins clears his throat. "I should mention that Alex's latest test results, while concerning, actually make him an ideal candidate for our most aggressive treatment protocol. The early data suggests we could potentially extend his prognosis by years, possibly even decades as our research advances." My mother gasps softly. "Years? You never mentioned that before." "The protocol wasn't ready before," Dr. Collins explains. "But now it is, and Alex's timing couldn't be better." For the first time since this nightmare began, I see a flicker of hope in my father's eyes. He reaches out and takes Marcus's small hand in his. "You're right," he says to Marcus. "Family sticks together." As we leave the consultation room later that day, paperwork signed and treatment scheduled to begin tomorrow, Marcus walks between me and my father, holding both our hands. Beth and my mother follow behind, talking quietly about arrangements for the coming weeks. In the lobby, Marcus stops suddenly and looks up at me. "No matter what happens," he says, with that solemn certainty only children can muster, "we're family now, and nobody can change that." I squeeze his hand, my throat too tight for words. Whatever time I have left, whether it's years or decades, I know now that it will be filled with the kind of love I never expected to find, and that makes every fight worth fighting. 6 months after our confrontation at the research center, I find Marcus sitting at the kitchen table with my pill organizer and a notebook. His tongue pokes out slightly as he concentrates on checking each compartment against the detailed medication schedule he's created. Did you take the blue one yet? It says you need it with breakfast, he says without looking up. Just about to, I reply, popping open Wednesday morning's compartment. You're getting pretty good at this. Dr. Collins said the timing matters, Marcus says seriously, especially with the experimental ones. I ruffle his hair as I pass by, and he doesn't duck away like he used to. These small moments of casual affection still feel like victories, even after all these months together. The experimental treatment has been brutal at times. Weeks of nausea, fatigue that left me barely able to climb the stairs, and one particularly scary night in the ER when my fever spiked to 103. But through it all, Marcus has been my unexpected rock. He learned the names of every medication, memorized my doctor's phone numbers, and even created a color-coded chart on the refrigerator tracking my symptoms. Dad, Marcus asks, closing the notebook, are you nervous about tonight? Tonight is our family do-over dinner. After the disaster at my parents' house 6 months ago, we've slowly rebuilt those relationships, but this is the first time everyone will be together again. This time, we're hosting at our house. A little, I admit, but I think it'll be good. Different from last time. Marcus nods solemnly. Beth called yesterday when you were napping. She wanted to know if I like chocolate or vanilla cake better. And what did you tell her? I said chocolate, but only if it has those rainbow sprinkles on top. He grins, and I see a flash of the carefree child he's slowly becoming. The doorbell rings at exactly 4:30. Marcus races to answer it, his socks sliding on the hardwood floor. I hear my mother's voice, warm and excited, and Marcus's polite thank you, as she presumably hands him something. They appear in the kitchen doorway moments later, my mother carrying a casserole dish and Marcus clutching a chocolate cake decorated with what looks like every sprinkle color ever manufactured. Look what Grandma made, he announces, carefully placing the cake on the counter. My mother sets down her dish and embraces me. You look good, she whispers. Really good. It's true. The experimental treatment has been working better than anyone dared hope. My latest blood work showed significant improvement in the markers that had been steadily worsening before. Dr. Collins used the word remarkable 3 times during our last appointment. My father arrives next, carrying a bag of games he thought Marcus might enjoy. Then Beth and her children, who immediately drag Marcus off to see his room while Beth hovers awkwardly in the entryway. I brought wine, she says, holding up a bottle. Non-alcoholic, since I know you can't mix with your meds. It's a small gesture, but it speaks volumes about how much she's been paying attention. Dinner is nothing like the tense affair at my parents' house. Marcus chatters excitedly about his school project, which he's presenting next week. It's about Dad's condition, he explains between bites of lasagna, for the science fair. I interviewed Dr. Collins on Zoom and everything. You're doing your science project on my illness? I ask, surprised. Marcus nods. It's called Genetic Mutations and Experimental Treatments, a case study. Dr. Collins helped me with the big words. My mother dabs at her eyes with her napkin. That's wonderful, Marcus. My teacher says it might win first place, he adds proudly, because nobody else is doing anything like it. After dinner, while the kids are playing in the living room, my father pulls me aside. I owe you an apology, he says quietly. I was so afraid of losing you that I couldn't see what you were gaining with Marcus. Dad, no, let me finish. When your mother and I saw you at the research center that day, all I could think about was protecting myself from pain. I couldn't imagine how adopting Marcus could be anything but a burden for you. He looks toward the living room, where Marcus is teaching his cousins some complicated hand game. But he's been good for you, hasn't he? The best thing that's ever happened to me, I say honestly. And not just because he keeps me on track with my meds. My father nods. Dr. Collins called us last week. He wanted us to know about your latest results. This surprises me. He did? He said he'd never seen such a dramatic response to the treatment. He said. My father's voice catches. He said we should be planning for years with you, not months. I feel a lump forming in my throat. That's what he told me too. I'm proud of you, son, my father says, pulling me into a hug. For fighting, for not giving up, for becoming a father despite everything. Later that night, after everyone has gone home and Marcus is getting ready for bed, I find Beth's business card on the counter with a note. First session tomorrow at 2 p.m. Don't be late. Beth had mentioned during dinner that she started seeing a therapist to work through her fear issues. I realized I've been pushing people away to protect myself, she had said, but watching you and Marcus, it made me want to be braver. 1 year after bringing Marcus home, we gather for another family dinner. This time, it's a celebration the anniversary of his adoption and, unofficially, my continued survival. Dr. Collins joins us, bringing news that makes the room fall silent. Based on your latest results, he tells me, with Marcus pressed against my side, we're now looking at a 5-year survival likelihood of over 80%. And with the way treatment is advancing, those numbers could improve even further. Marcus squeezes my hand so hard it hurts. See, he whispers, I told you. The foundation we started 6 months ago, Families Fighting Together, has already helped 3 other adoptive families dealing with parental illness. Marcus insisted on the name, saying it had to include the word together because that's what makes the difference. After everyone leaves, Marcus helps me load the dishwasher, a routine we've perfected over the months. Remember when Grandma said you'd be the worst father? He asks suddenly. I nearly drop a plate. I try not to think about that night too much. Marcus hands me a glass. I was thinking about it today, about how wrong she was. Well, I'm glad you think so. No, I mean it, he says, his face serious in that way that makes him look older than 9. You could have been like my other foster parents. They were nice enough, but they kept me at a distance, like they were afraid to really know me. I set down the dish I'm holding. Marcus, but you didn't do that. Even when you were scared about being sick, even when your family was mad at you, you chose me anyway. He looks up at me, his eyes bright, so I think maybe the worst father actually turned out to be the best father I could have gotten. I pull him into a hug, not caring that my hands are still wet from the dishes. In that moment, I'm grateful for everything, even the diagnosis that once seemed like the end of my world, because without it, I might never have felt the urgency to bring this remarkable boy into my life. My condition isn't gone. It's still there, lurking in my genes, a shadow that Dr. Collins's treatments keep at bay. But it's no longer a death sentence. It's become a chronic condition that we manage together. one day at a time. And in the most unexpected way, it gave me the greatest gift of all, the chance to be someone's father. Not the worst father, as Beth once feared, but exactly the father Marcus needed. And he, in turn, became exactly the son I needed to find the strength to fight for my future.